Good afternoon, everyone. I appreciate everybody being here. At this time, I'd like to introduce Greg McGarity, our J. Reed Parker Director of Athletics, and introduce Coach Crean. After Greg's statement and Coach Crean's statement, we'll open it up for questions. We have wireless mics, and so we would like for you, if you have a question in the media, to raise your hand. And in this instance, we would also like for you to not only ask the question, but identify yourself and your affiliation. Just try to start familiarizing with faces that we'll see on a regular basis. So with that, I'll turn it over to Greg.
Thanks, Mike. Thanks, Mike, and good afternoon, and thanks everyone for coming. Today we welcome Tom, Joni, Megan, Riley, and Ainsley Crean to the University of Georgia family. The sense of excitement since the announcement was made 18 hours ago has been phenomenal, locally and nationally. Tom's record speaks for itself. He has consistently demonstrated the ability to lead highly successful elite programs on and off the court, and I have no doubt that under his leadership, the University of Georgia will experience new levels of success. We spoke with Tom Wednesday afternoon about this opportunity, and in his words, our position should be viewed as a gold mine destination. Tom's vision of the success we can experience as a program is inspiring. Tom's energy and passion about this opportunity to lead our young men is electric. And after President Moorhead and I met with Tom and Joni for over 6 hours yesterday at their home in Sarasota, it became crystal clear that Tom was the right person at the right time to lead our program. Ladies and gentlemen, the head basketball coach at the University of Georgia, Tom Crean.
Thank you. So many thank yous, but I've got to definitely start with President Moorhead because it was a tremendous visit yesterday. I learned a lot, and along the way I learned a little bit more about Georgia basketball. But I learned so much inside of our visit, and certainly knowing of Greg, but not speaking with him until this past Wednesday, I learned an awful lot in a short period of time. And the good news for me in all of these situations is I've always paid attention to Georgia. You can't be in this business of college sports, college basketball, and not have a really good view of what it's all about at this school. And I've competed against them. The only time I was in Athens was that would have been 1990. We walked out of here, thanks to Hugh Durham at Western Kentucky. When we got back on the plane, we walked out with a 54-point loss, I believe. Maybe 56, but who's counting at that point? Went home and pulled a couple all-nighters to help get our team and get our mindset right. But later on, had a chance to compete against Georgia as a head coach while I was at Indiana. We were #1 in the country, and we played them in the Barclays Center when they had Pope and the whole group. And we had a great run there. We ended up beating Georgetown for the championship. But there's so many parallels of what has happened in this program with what can happen in this program. And the bottom line, the foundation, okay, it all falls under the umbrella of tremendous excellence that's a part of this university. There's no doubt about it. Now, I don't even profess to have close to the knowledge that I hope to have on an hourly and daily and weekly and yearly basis of learning what it means to be here. But it is here. And I've paid attention from afar. And I've been an admirer from afar, especially when you look at what's happened with the different sports teams. Because when you're in a sports family like I am, you're paying a lot more attention than just to basketball. And that is exactly what it's been. So it is, without question, an honor to stand here. It's an honor to bring our family to this family. And with that, I would not be here. I would not be close to the person that I hope I'm trying to be every day if it wasn't for the absolute love of my life, Joni. And we're going on now. We'll be married 25 years in May. And exactly a year ago today, on March 16th, our world took a different turn because we were no longer coaching basketball as a head coach at the university level. And 1 year later, with everything that we have gone through as a family, and what she has done to be the absolute rock and center of everything that goes on with us. I cannot thank her enough. I can't appreciate it any more than I do. And it's an absolute honor to be her husband and to be joined with her as we raise our 3 children. Megan, who is 22, and if there's one bittersweet part of today, and there's only one, it's that she's not with us today. She started her life and future in Los Angeles this past summer after graduating from Indiana. And as crazy it is, we had just dropped her off at the airport in Tampa to fly back to L.A., and an hour later, I spoke to Greg. And so, but she's there in spirit, hopefully somewhere watching. I'm sure she's busy. My son Riley is as good a friend as I could possibly have. He's 18. He has done such a great job of being a respected young man, a respected teammate, somebody that's there for his teammates, and he has certainly been there for his family. And he is a sports lover. He is a baseball pitcher at IMG Academy. He'll be 19 in a few weeks, but I'm so proud of him. And then our angel, Ainsley. Ainsley is 12, and she's found her passions in sports for lacrosse and volleyball, but our passion is raising our children. And I could stand up here for hours and hours and hours and not even do close to what it is. And I'm so privileged to be a part of that family, so privileged to be a part of Joni's family, with her mother and father, Jack and Jackie, with Jim and with John, and then certainly with my family back home. My mother, Marjorie, my sister, Michelle, and my brother-in-law, Shannon, Dean, and my father, Tom, is back there as well. We have guests, people that we actually started together as I was walking up. He was on my father-in-law's, he was not my father-in-law yet, I didn't even know him. I just knew he was the coach with a great scowl, Jack Harbaugh. But Doug Mallory, who coaches with the Falcons, and his wife, Lisa, we were all together at the very beginning, going back to, this would be 1990, back at Western Kentucky. So they joined us coming up from Atlanta. But inside of this year that we have, that God's plan took a different path. And when you don't understand it at first and you're not willing to accept it, you do know this, that you can never let anything or anyone or any situation or any circumstance ever do anything to take your spirit, to create any doubt, to take any confidence, and to ever get you off the path of helping other people get better. And over this past year, I have been absolutely privileged beyond what I could have ever imagined with the friendships, the acquaintances that I've met, the places that I've gone, the people that welcomed me in, and certainly with what I had the opportunity to do at ESPN, I could not have been any more fortunate. And that's not coach speak, it's not hyperbole. It is people that have looked after us, helped us grow, and we thank them so much. And before I get into Georgia, I have got to thank the 18 years and the other 9 years and the 4 years before that of being a college coach and the players that the way they have reached out to us. And I say that because I want our family, not only the Crean family, but I want our basketball family to come in here and experience what we're going to experience with this Georgia family and with the Georgia student athletes and with the current Georgia basketball players and the future Georgia basketball players. Because they're as much me as I am them and vice versa, because the ideals and the standards of the program, they start with a level of humility. And it goes all the way back to my first team at Marquette to my last team at Indiana, and the values that were instilled in me as a young coach, as a person growing up, the same values that were instilled in Joni, we have tried to instill into every person that has come through our grasp as far as player, as far as staff, and that is to hold people responsible and accountable for the greatness that is inside of them. When they don't see it, when they don't feel it, when they don't know it, we're still going to do everything we can do to hold them accountable. Doesn't mean that you don't have mistakes. Doesn't mean that you don't make mistakes. Doesn't mean that you don't wish you had some do-overs. Doesn't mean that everything worked out beautifully. But it does mean that every day we were trying to put our best foot forward to help people put their best foot forward. And it is going to be an absolute honor and a privilege to join Greg in this entire athletic department, to join President Moorhead in this entire university, to join every alum and continuing to build this program into what it can continue to become. And that is one of the most outstanding, energetic, driven basketball programs in the country that can compete and play for national championships, that can play for conference championships, that can play for any championship that's put in front of them by working towards it on a daily basis. And that is absolutely what we're looking for. Because the other thing we've learned through all of this is that when one door closes, another one can open. And this door opened, and it opened at a time, certainly, when there were some other doors, but at the end of the day, this door was in a class by itself because of what is capable here, what can be done here, what has been done in the past. And you start to think about the passion, the energy, the way people feel about a school like this, and I cannot wait for us to join that and learn that from everybody else. And it's been only a couple of hours on this campus and in this city, but we've already met a few, and it's been outstanding. And we always wanted to be at a place where we could surround ourselves with people that had passion, that had drive, that were competitive, but that wanted to see other people be better. And that is exactly what we feel we've walked into right now. I grew up in Michigan, Mount Pleasant, Michigan, went to school at Central Michigan University. I got a chance to start coaching in high school at my old high school, Mount Pleasant High School. Right after I graduated, started school, or coaching in college at Alma College, a Division III school. Never got into it for the money, because at that point it was $700 over 3 years. Could have never done it without the love and care and guidance of my mother allowing me to chase my dream. I was surrounded by people back then like Ralph Pym, Denny Kuiper, Ted McIntyre, which parlayed into dealing with people like Judd Heathcote at Michigan State, with Ralph Willard at Western Kentucky and for a year at Pittsburgh, with Tom Izzo for not just the 4 years that I was with him, but for every day, ever since. And when you get into an environment where you get with people that they give to you and they pour into you the way that you need it and the way that you want to pour back into them, that is the greatest energy that you can find. And trying to lead a group of student athletes on a 24/7, day by day, week by week basis to help them become all that they can be and then some. And that is what everybody has done for me, and I've had that opportunity to be a part of some great programs. I've been in part of some rebuilds, and I've been a part of one that you wouldn't even want to quantify it as a rebuild, because it was unlike anything I'd ever seen. And we could have never turned it in Indiana without the determination, the support, and the guidance from so many people, without that passion of the people to go inside and help us continue to recover that program and flourish inside of it. And those are the same values and ideals that we will bring here. The things that I've learned from every coach, from every leader, the things that I've had a chance to work with from the players, from Dwayne Wade to Cody Zeller, who's playing in Charlotte. I mean, I could go on. The list goes on and on. To people that you've never heard of that I'm just as proud of, because they are great fathers, they are great husbands, they are learning to be great parents, and they can persevere through adversity in their life, whether it's professional, whether it's health. Those are all the things that make us what we are, and that is as much part of the system and the style and the fabric that we will bring into this University of Georgia program as anything we'll do on the court, because that is what will set the mark. That is what will set the tone. That there will not be a situation where we will ever have or accept people that will not put their very best, okay, not only on the court, but in the classroom. We graduated every senior that we ever had that used their eligibility at Marquette. And when I left, the sophomores, juniors, and rising juniors, rising seniors were on track to graduate. They all did. We graduated every senior that used their eligibility at Indiana. We graduated 8 young men in 3 years, including Victor Oladipo, who came in with 1 scholarship offer and a 3.0 GPA at DeMatha High School, and left 3 years later as the 2nd pick in the draft with a 3.2 GPA and a degree in sports broadcasting. It all matters. And I cannot wait, whether it's Sunday night, Monday morning, whenever I get a chance to get in front of my new team and this great program and trying to help them continue to build on what their dreams are, continue to build on where they want to go. Because there will be balance. We will work for completeness. We will work to have a group of people that understand just how valuable it continues to be to put your very best foot forward academically, to do your very best and understand the standard that you have got to uphold, not only in this campus, not only in this community, not only in this state, but throughout the country. Because I'm used to being around teams that they didn't understand the glare of the spotlight that was on them. They didn't understand how many eyes were upon them. And I didn't want those eyes, and I know we've had a few that didn't always understand that. But I didn't want those eyes to look back at them and not be proud of the way they carried themselves, the way they treated other people, and the way they worked and competed to represent the universities that we were at. And the University of Georgia will be no different whatsoever. And as we come into this environment, we come in knowing that we're coming into a world-class university. And I've been privileged to work at some great places. All right, this is a world-class university that is world-known for what they do, for what they're about. Sports are a huge part of it, but there are so many other great things, okay, that you learn over a period of time when you run into Georgia alums. And I never traveled more over the last 3 months than I did even in coaching, doing my TV position. So I met a lot of people, Georgia people included. And there's a passion and a pride that I'm very much looking forward to being a part of. I know we have a ton of alums out there that I don't want to say live and breathe this program, but they know when the Georgia sports are playing. They know when the games are. They know what's going on this campus. They know who's coaching. They know who's playing. They know who's being recruited. I look forward to being a part of that because I think that's what makes it happen. When I turn on a football game and I see what's going on in game days here, or when you see the cameras pan around and show the crowd, or you see the tailgate areas, okay, that is the exact same type of attitude, the exact same type of energy that we are going to have vision, starting with me, to have come into the Steg every time we play. Every time. And I hope one of the first things we can do is build a Midnight Madness, Georgia Madness, whatever we're going to call it, type of situation. Hopefully something will work to get the fans to come in here and get inside of this. Because I know it's not going to happen overnight, but I promise you that there will not be a day goes by that we will not be trying to continue to build on the energy, all right, of what can happen here, build on what has already happened here, all right, and continue to move it forward to what will happen here. And I pause to say this. I've known Mark Fox for a long time, going back to when he was an assistant, certainly when he was the head coach at Nevada, coach at Georgia. I'll never remember one morning we had a mutual friend, a man that had worked for me, and I got the text from him 5:36 in the morning letting me know that this man had passed away because he was a mutual friend and we knew his brother and he was close with his brother. My respect for Mark Fox, even though I haven't talked to him yet, my respect for Mark Fox has always been high. And that is not going to change. And as we continue to build this program and as we continue to move forward, I hope there's plenty of opportunities to credit him for bringing fine people in here, fine young men, fine student athletes, people that represented Georgia, okay, this university, this state, okay, this alumni base the right way. I met Jawan walking in. I had a chance to coach against him before. That's what I hope. That will be my plan because everything that I have seen from watching this team this year, from the things I've heard, from looking at the facilities, okay, this program was run with integrity, it was run with great standards, okay, and it was run with a discipline. And I fully expect to continue to move forward and build this in the eyes of what people expect it to be. And as we move into the basketball side, we have had teams over, my former media relations director told me that over a 9-year period, including our first 3 years, which I'd love to not have, but we had them. The first 3 years when we were rebuilding that program completely, we led the power conference schools in three-point shooting. We're going to shoot the three. We're not going to lead the country in attempts, but I certainly hope we can get to the point where we're one of the best percentage teams. We want to be great at moving the ball. We want to be great at spacing, technique, details, using not only the entire 94 feet to run, but using the space in the half court, all right, to create and be as conceptual and concept-based as a basketball team as we can be. When I first started out, we ran a lot of plays. As we got better players, we started to understand that concepts and cerebral playmaking, guys that can make plays for another, guys that can read the ball, play off their man, know when to cut, know when to lift, all those type of things, and working to get it to that point. A team, and if I've really learned something this year about basketball, that there is a great place for more pressure defense, especially three-quarter pressure. We've played it, we've mixed it, we've certainly changed defenses over the years, but I don't think there's any reason you can't do more with three-quarter pressure, bringing more, especially with the length that I think is inside of here. All right, to become a team that talks on offense, talks on defense, talks through success, talks through adversity, because they have a belief in one another. And I'm starting at base zero with a group of guys that have been together as we continue to come in and figure out how to do that. And as we continue to do that and we start those workouts and we start this process, they'll see from me every day that they're going to have to match my energy and the staff's energy. And we'll hold them to it, because that's the only way that it can get done. We'll try to teach them and bring every detail, technique, thing that will make them better individually, that will make them better in a small group action, that will make them better as a team every day, and help them to understand that there can be no weak points in your career or in your life, and put the people around them, okay, off the floor, on the floor, that can truly help them see that, and that can build towards that. And when it comes to players, all right, are we going to build multidimensional, versatile, multiple position? I look at Claxton and I say, this is the epitome of a young player, okay, who comes into college, because most people, when they come into college, they're not ready for the multidimensional, okay? But I look at him and I watch him play throughout the year and I say, that is the living proof of somebody that can be versatile and multidimensional on both ends. And we can go right on down the line. I don't want to name every player, but I use that as an example because of the size. Because of the size. For us, our guards needed to be able to post. Our guards needed to be able to finish. Our guards needed to be able to defend inside. Our big men needed to be able to shoot threes. Our big men needed to be able to handle the ball. Our big men needed to be able to handle the pick and roll. Ask Cody Zeller. Okay, and when we've had our best teams, whether it's 13, 12 weeks, whatever it was in number one back at Indiana, whether it's going to the Final Four at Marquette, whether it's being picked to finish 12th our first year in the Big East, back at Marquette in 2006, playing UConn in the first Big East game of the year, they're number 2 in the country, undefeated, and having them down by 24 with 5 minutes to go. Versatility, competitiveness, and players that will absolutely be committed to making each other better has been the recipe for success. And if those things are there, then you have a chance to continue to grow and move forward and take it to another place. In closing, before I turn it over to questions, I hope that everybody will see 3 things every day, okay, from this program, starting with me. And the rest of it will go from there. Number 1, there's going to be an energy. There's going to be an energy. There's going to be a foundation of enthusiasm, energy, intensity, demands, details, but it is going to be done based on what can you do and how can we get you better at this or that versus he can't do this, he won't do that. We don't coach in can'ts and won'ts. Okay, now the game is not the place to work on your weaknesses, okay, but practice is, and individual workouts are. And the game is the place to play to your strengths. And our job as coaches is to continue to develop as many possible strengths in the players and in the staff as we possibly can. So that energy is going to permeate. And I hope that that energy is also coming from the outside. And when I mean outside the gym walls. People throughout the athletic department, people throughout the athletic programs, people throughout the school, people throughout the community, people throughout the Atlanta area, people throughout the state of Georgia, people throughout the Southeast region, people throughout the country, and people throughout the world. That they have an energy, that they are excited about what we're doing and what we're building on that court to go along with the other great things that are happening at this university and what's happening in sports. And that energy is going to be at the forefront. Number 2, we're going to have that player development mindset. And that player development mindset is not just about extending our left hand, being able to drive it with our right. That player development mindset is making sure that when you meet them and when you see them and when their parents get them back or their grandmother or their grandfather gets them back, that they see a maturity that's growing, that they see an eye contact that's coming, that they see that presence that's there. Not an arrogance, not an entitlement, not an enablement, okay, but a commitment to an excellence of their life, okay? A maturity that says we want to be around that person. okay, an ability to help, a want to want to help, a kindness, all right, somebody that shakes your hand, looks you in the eye, and even if they're shy and they're not used to it, that they get used to it. Because every player that will play for Georgia, just like all the greats, all the teams that have had them before, they are a walking resume for their future and for their life. Every time they walk this campus, every time they put that Georgia uniform on. And it's not just when they put that uniform on in the Stag, and it's not just when ESPN is here, it's not just when Kentucky's here. It is every day. And to help them get that is going to be the mission. And the player development of helping them get their individual skills to fit into a team concept so that they can move on, so like so many of our former players have, and enjoy the successes and the fruits of that. Because it didn't matter if it was Victor Oladipo with one scholarship offer. It didn't matter if it was the McDonald's All-Americans. It didn't matter if it was Dwayne Wade with 3 scholarship offers. If you've got the chip on your shoulder, if you've got the determination to succeed, you can, and we will do everything we can help you to do it. And that is so big in what we do. And the last thing is, and this is an all-encompassing statement, but there is no doubt we've got to recruit. We have got to recruit. We got to find a group of people that are going to commit to the G. I saw that long before today. I did my first TV game in Northwestern Georgia Tech. I've been in Atlanta enough over the last year. I've seen that billboard, and it's cool. And I got to make sure I get a T-shirt that has it, all right, or a long-sleeve shirt that has it, because it's more than just getting, all right, the high schools and the AU programs and those players. We've got to go in there. And I hope that everyone will understand as they go down this line, they're going to have accessibility to what we're building, and that there's going to be a validation in what they're doing. Because if you're working with young people, if you're trying to help players be better, and this is not just men's basketball, but if you're trying to coach and teach, then we want to do everything we can do to help them. It might be a drill here, it might be an idea there, it might be a game. I don't know what it's going to be, but it's going to be there. And we're going to put ourselves in that situation because this state is so good, and there are so many good coaches. All right? And it's not, well, there's high school over here and there's AU over there. No, there are very, very good coaches, very good programs. And our job is to treat them with that respect and hope that we get it back. And as we show them that what we're trying to do and what can happen, and the same things that can happen for the kids in this program, the kids in this state, and the kids that we can recruit, and the same thing that happened with those guys that really worked and got their degrees, and right now our contracted MBA money, okay, have earned, or what they're contracted for, is $523 million. I plenty expect that we're going to add on to that at the University of Georgia. All right? And some are probably in this program right now. But we are going to help them, because I always wanted players that wanted to be far more successful than what they just were on that court. And could they move on? And that's exactly what this world needs. That's what Georgia's going to provide, because there's going to be, I want the day to come when people on the outside, they want to hire them in their law firm. They want to hire them in their business. They want to hire them to speak. They want them, okay, to speak to that school. They want them at that Boys and Girls Club. They want them to represent that company. They want to sign them for something overseas. They want them around. Not because we acted entitled and abled or we had it coming to us, but because we absolutely went out there and earned it. And I hope as we move forward, you allow me to do that. Because I've learned more in the last, well, 2 days, but I've learned more in the last couple of hours. And my head is going to need a break here at some point tonight, but it'll start up again early in the morning. And we'll keep learning and learning and learning. And we're going to learn about the great alums. And we're going to learn about the business owners. And we're going to learn about the education. And we're going to learn about the rankings of all the different schools. And we're going to learn about all the great faculty that's here. And we're going to learn about all the great people inside of academics and all the different areas that are here. And we're going to learn it, and we're going to embrace it, and we're going to be excited about it. And I hope we're going to make you proud that we're going to be one of you. Because that is what the Crean family and everybody that I bring in here is expecting to be. One of you. We want to be part of this. It's great to be here. Thank you. Thank you. Please tell me who you are every time so I can start to put it together. Thank you.
Coach Jake Rowe, 247 Sports here. I wanted to ask, it's been 28 years since you've been to Athens. Obviously,
Who's counting?
Right. Obviously, you didn't, come here during the negotiation process, during the courting process. What was it about Georgia that made you want to take this job sight unseen, without touring the facilities, without seeing all of those things first?
Well, first off, Wednesday it was offered to be able to do that, and we both talked about it. Joni had talked about it, and she'd spent her time looking at what she needed to look at, which is area, schools, houses, calling friends, and researching it like we've done in some others, right? I mean, we had to make sure we're doing our due diligence and the things that we do, but I didn't need to. We didn't need to do that because we didn't need to be here, and we're here now. Because first off, in the ages of social media and video, you can see so many things, okay? As long as she's happy with the house, I'm going to be happy with the house. I don't want to live too far away. And when you look at these facilities, in the screens or in the video, it's fantastic. I remember getting ready for Mark's team when we're playing in the Barclays, and they'd had a regular season game, and I think they'd had an exhibition. And like the camera, the TV, it was a little dark, so like it wasn't like you could see the whole arena, but I thought you could hear it. And I thought it was impressive. I have no idea how many people were in here. It didn't matter to me, but you could hear it. I love the floor. I love the videos. I've watched enough on television over the years and especially this, we moved. I mean, we picked up this year, and we got to sell our house in Bloomington yet, but we moved to Sarasota, Florida, because we wanted to have a home base. We wanted to allow our son to go to IMG and do something different. Joni liked Florida. So we've moved, and we pretty much went there after only being in Sarasota a couple different times, and that's worked out great. We had absolutely no doubts about coming in here. And I don't think we're going to have, I think we're going to learn a lot. I think it's going to be fun. And I think we are, without question, excited about making our home base. Now, I can't tell you what county or what town we're going to live or where they're going to go to school. We'll figure it out. But it's going to be a lot of fun figuring it out.
Coach Chip Towers, Atlanta Journal-Constitution, DawgNation.com.
Yeah. Is that your boy?
It is.
What's your name?
Bryson.
Bryson. Shake hands. Nice to meet you.
Thank you.
He drags you along. We got to at least meet, right? I know you could be doing something else today. So go ahead.
He just left school.
Well, good. All right.
Yeah, just wondering if you'd made decisions yet regarding staff, and if you could share any of those with us.
No, not yet. And certainly I've got ideas. And in my situation, this year, because obviously I knew the job was open since Saturday, but there were other jobs open, and there were other jobs that were situations where there was contact in different geographic areas. So for me, because the most important thing to me, outside of getting our family situated, was to make sure I got my staff situated from last year. And we didn't hit 100, okay, about 1,000, but we were close. We were really close. So the most important thing was to get them where they could continue to go. And so I have to think through that a little bit. There's certainly been people that have reached out. I think because this happened so quick, and I have definitely watched film of the players. I definitely have. The most important thing is going to be getting with them, getting on the court with them. It's not about putting your style in right away, but starting to get some assessment there. But I know that's going to be huge, and that's going to be very important. I definitely have names in mind. I think it's going to be different for me because a year ago I had 3 former head coaches on my staff. I'd been with those guys for some time. It won't be what I've had in the past. There's going to be some changes, but there also could be some people that are part of it. But I think over the next few days that is going to be a huge priority for me.
Tom, Jason Butt with the Macon Telegraph. You mentioned you had admired Georgia from afar.
Sure.
Your friend
Vern Fleming, right? That was one of my first favorite players. So, never met him, but it was one of my first favorites.
Right. And your friend Dick Vitale yesterday, he said that Georgia's a sleeping giant in basketball. What it is about this program that has you, that causes you to believe those sort of things about Georgia?
Well, there's so much, and we'll start with this. The SEC is so powerful, and in the last few hours, less than 24 hours, obviously, I've heard from Greg Sankey, I've heard from Mike Tranghese, which was our commissioner in the Big East, Dan Leibovitz, who I've got tremendous respect for, and I'm sure there'll be others. And I'm way behind on messages on that phone, so there might be some more. I think the structure and the power of this conference and the way that they have tried to continue to make this something that has a real strong basketball footprint, I think, in the national landscape. And after spending this year in ESPN, even though I don't call many SEC games, I got a real feel for how powerful this is on a national level. To me, it's not having to come here and seeing those facilities online before ever walking in here. And like I said, as good as the videos are, as good as the pictures are, as good as Tim is, it doesn't even do justice to what you do when you walk out there. And knowing this area, knowing this talent, competing against it, knowing what's in this region, knowing what's in the Atlanta area, certainly, knowing that this is a national school, right? International, right? So there's really no place you can't go, but there is no doubt that you want to start, all right, with given opportunities and looking at how do you keep the best people here. And it's a two-way street, right? Keeping the best people at home is a two-way street. We can also, oh, we want to sign so-and-so. We want to sign this guy. We want to sign that guy. We've got to be able to get them. We've got to keep giving them reasons to want to come. We've got to keep looking at, are they the right fit? But I think there's so much opportunity for that in such a close proximity that you can do that. And you can't be in this business and not and go through what you know about your own school, right? And whether it be Marquette, certainly because it's more present in Indiana, and not know what other schools have. Because part of the recruiting process is what you have not only in basketball, but what you have as a university. So when you're going and you're seeing that, you know, it's very, very important. Heck, I think it was us. Yante may say different, but it was us and Georgia for Yante. And I don't know, you know, Michigan State got in late. There might have been somebody else in there. We had him on a visit. He knew what he wanted. Georgia had it, right? And like that, to me, those type of things, they say something too. So the list goes on, but most importantly, what's not here? You know, what's not here? And it's going to be fun. It's going to be fun proving ourselves right on that.
Hi, Coach. Jeff Schultz of the Atlanta Constitution. Hi. 2 questions. I was just, number one, is 27 minutes the average length of your opening statements generally before press conferences?
It better not be. It was. It was at some point. But but I had a lot to say. So.
The other question is
that a good thing? It would be a bad thing on deadline, right?
It'd be really bad, yeah.
What would be a good number? Because I had some issues with that.
2.5 minutes, maybe.
2.5 minutes?
Yeah.
I got to get all that done in 2.5 minutes? All right. What would be a good time to be in here after the game? I'm dead serious. Because I would go talk to my team, do my radio show. What would be a good time? Don't give me a hard line.
I'll let you talk to the beat guys about that.
Okay. All right. Did I bore you inside the 27 minutes?
No.
Okay, good. There we go.
I was ready to run through a wall.
At least I didn't lose you, right?
No, you definitely didn't.
Because concentration span for all of us average humans is 8 seconds. So, proven study. I wasn't worried about that today, though.
The other question is, during your off year, I saw where you went on a info-seeking tour. I don't know what you would call it, but just from what you learned about that, how do you think that'll make you a better coach moving forward?
So much. I mean, I think, let me give you this before it ever got in there. Right after this happened to us a year ago, within 5 days, I'd heard from 8 or 9 of my first team at Marquette, of the first 12 guys. And I hadn't coached those guys in 18 years. So right away, when you start you realize the most important part is those relationships that you build. I mean, they're kids I hadn't seen in years, right? And they're reaching out because when you build something and when you're together on something, it really doesn't leave you if you try to maintain it and it was real. And so that part of it, and what I was able to see as I went through different places, was that is real at the other levels too. I know it's business and pro sports. I know people come and go, but excellence is absolutely something that has got to be from top to bottom. So examples, being in a coaches meeting or being in a draft meeting, there were no weak links in those meetings. There was nobody that was coming in unprepared. I mean, literally, in the ones I was in, they were prepared. Doug could probably even speak to that more, you know, being with the Falcons. But it didn't matter if you were the assistant quality control coach. It didn't matter if you were the assistant strength coach. If you were in there and you were in that meeting, you were listened to, you were respected, and nobody wanted to filter what you had to say. And I think I can do an even better job of training the entire staff in that operation of preparation for what everybody needs. And at the same time, having some of your older coaches, because the younger coaches, the graduate managers and things like that were always a lifeline for us, you know, for our program. So helping them. I think I learned more about even more detail and what detail and level of detail goes into the great player and how the great player has got a mindset, a killer instinct, so to speak, that they want to continue to compete at that level, and they expect everybody that can do something about it to do the same thing. And the great ones are not afraid to bring that out. that it's okay to be demanding, that that some of the greatest, highest paid athletes that I've come across in the world, when it's in the meeting room of a training camp or when it's behind the scenes in an early morning workout, it is all about getting better. And I think that's some of it. But I've learned I started to learn this even more, but I think I've learned this more than ever now. You know, control what you can control. You can control sometimes more than you think, but you don't have to control everything. And keep helping people see what you see, but also see what they see. And I think that's been some of the biggest stuff. But bottom line, it's not an accident why great programs win. And I think one thing I really took from ESPN, because there's a place that's going through a difference. We had a big major meeting there. I think it was in November, and John Skipper spoke at it. It was like, I mean, it was unbelievable. He might not have talked 27 minutes, but I could remember all of it. Like, it was strong. And 5 days later, he'd resigned. He'd retired. So you had a company that now didn't have their main leader there, but I can't tell you there was one day. He must have done such a good job with the people that he brought in there that it didn't matter if it was a small group. It didn't matter if it was a different production team. It didn't matter if it was a game. Those people were on top of it, top to bottom. And I think that's the thing to me, top to bottom, no matter what, you're trying to help each other succeed. And your ego better be team-centered as much as it is anything else, because the other way stands out like a sore thumb in the greatest organizations. I won't go 27 minutes. I mean, probably not. Maybe once. Good.
Colin Hughley, the Red and Black. Tom, first of all, congratulations.
Thank you.
Second of all, considering everything that's going on in college basketball with the FBI stuff, how much more attractive was this job by every indication things were done the right way? There's no dark cloud looming over the program. How much of an impact did that have on your evaluation of Georgia?
It was never even a thought, to be honest with you, because Georgia was never even somebody that even considered being in that. So, really wasn't. I never really thought about that, because it's a good question, but it was never a factor with us. It's very strong here, and I don't think there's any question about the integrity of the way this program was run for years. No doubt.
Hi, Tom. Seth Emerson, AJC. Whenever you come somewhere, I guess there's the blend of, do you want to win right away, but do you want to establish something and maybe take some short-term hits in the name of a long-term, program? What do you see with what you inherit and the ability to hit the ground running, and that, do you feel like there might be some short-term hits to implement anything long-term?
That's hard to tell yet. The short-term thing is hard to tell. I don't know that yet, but there is no question that there is talent and there is versatility, and there's a lot of youth inside of this program. They defend. They know how to run offense. They move the ball. I mean, come on, they've been well coached. I mean, I could go right on down the line. There's no doubt about that. And I think getting to know them and seeing where that versatility can go, seeing where the level of them taking that next step, because there's so much youth, continuing to build the skills, continuing to build the outside shooting, continuing to build the strength, the conditioning, those aspects of it. And then I think the real assessment, okay, what do we need for now? Because obviously there's a lot of players here. We'll see how it all plays out. But the bottom line is, when we sit down and start working, I mean, that's the guys, right? And they won't maybe know that or accept that right off the bat, but they'll get it. I've been down that road. I'm not worried about that. But bottom line is, let's assess every day where we're at. I'm not one of those coaches that say, hey, we're going to not look at last year. No, we've already looked at last year, because I was watching it all year. And I'm going to do it even more so, and really have a real good gauge on where they're at based on what we see, and start trying to put those details in there to help them. But the foundation is here, and we just got to build it up. But I don't have an answer because I've never been with those guys, to see, how hard they work, how they learn this way, do they learn that way, what's the upside, what's their work ethic like. We got to learn all that. We got to learn that together. So I'll have a much better indication on that a few months from now, on that part of it.
Hey, Tom. Mark Weiser, Athens Banner Herald. You mentioned recruiting Atlanta and the region, being that you've coached at Indiana and Marquette, a Midwest guy. How much of a challenge do you think that will be, and do you need someone on your staff that knows the area well?
Oh, I think knowing the area is going to be important. Yeah, I don't profess to have that. That's why I think the staffing of really looking at what was going to happen, and certainly when you come to Georgia, the geographical footprint of really knowing the landscape is really, really important. But we came here a year ago and signed Al Durham, and I believe Georgia recruited him. and loved his father. Al's gone. I think he had a pretty good year. He's got to get stronger and all those type of things. But we came into the city and got him, and so we've definitely recruited it over years. So I'm sure Christian Watford was a pretty good one our first year out of Birmingham, and he turned out pretty well. He just got better and better. He was a guy that went from shooting 32% his first 2 years to shooting 48% from three his last 2 years. So to me, it's the area. It's evaluation is what it is more than anything else. And it's not just having your ability to evaluate, but having a staff's ability to evaluate. And you got to evaluate the process, because in this day and age, if you have to talk and know a lot of people, all right? And information is knowledge. It's absolutely knowledge, and you've got to be able to touch a lot of different realms in that area. You got to know a lot of different people from a lot of different places, and you put it all together, because each recruit in itself is a case study to me. There's no one brush for each recruit. You know, there might be some similarities. Maybe twins have some similarities, but they're going to be different, right? Everything else is different, and I think you can't paint a recruit with a broad brush. You got to look at it individually, and that's where having the right staff of evaluation is really important.
That sounds maybe two more questions.
Yep.
Emily Gagnon, CBS 46.
Hi.
Nice to meet you. I was wondering if, it's no secret, Georgia, it's a football school. That certainly wasn't the case at Marquette or at Indiana.
We didn't have any football at Marquette.
Exactly. Those are
They talked about
basketball
bringing it back, but it was going to cost a lot of money.
Exactly. So has that crossed your mind at all? I have two questions. That's my first one.
Absolutely. It's great. I mean, I'm in a football family, and I liked football. To me, I was an assistant at Michigan State, and it was at the time Nick had started at Michigan State. Tom was starting at Michigan State. Ron Mason was the hockey coach, and Hall of Famer. Those three were so intertwined. Ron Mason was the great mentor-teacher to Nick and Tom together, but their relationship has remained intact. I learned then, okay, like I was coming from Western Kentucky, where I ended up marrying the coach's daughter, right? So I had that view of it, but I learned then that it was awesome watching those guys work together, being a part of that. And Kirby sent me a heck of a text last night. I know he's on spring break with his family, and it's one of those, like, I'm not deleting that one. It was cool. You know, his wife's already reached out to my wife. I'm looking forward to it. I mean, absolutely looking forward to it. We went through the facility today. I'm the athletic team. I missed the recruiting and being with the other coaches, and I missed that. And I'm looking forward to getting it back.
Earlier today, Charles Barkley, he went out on a limb and said that the SEC is the best conference in men's basketball right now. If you take a look at Tennessee, Kentucky, Alabama, Florida A&M just beat Providence. Those are 5 teams in the SEC that are moving on to the round of 32. What's your thought on where the SEC is right now in men's basketball?
I've had a lot of time to look at it this year. I mean, I don't think there's any doubt. The Big 12 was outstanding too, because I had a skewed view because I was doing more Big 12 games, but I learned a lot from watching Kansas's basketball program. I mean, when you see the way that they would utilize 4 guards, when I say I learned a lot of basketball, and because I'd only competed against Bill once a year ago, but I had more of a vantage point of seeing that, but watching the SEC so much in the studios and watching on my own, there is no doubt. I mean, and nobody should be surprised with what Rick Barnes did. We were both in the same Final Four in 2003. Bruce is an outstanding coach. He was at Milwaukee. I was at Marquette for 7 of our 9 years there. So I don't think there's any doubt. I mean, it's a great region. It's a national brand, so to speak, you know, where you can go anywhere. You can go international. You can go across the country. And there's so much length and defensive ability, and it just makes, but there's a lot of skill. And I think if anything that's really changed over the last couple of years is there's so much more skill in the league. This is not a league that is just full of athletes that are running and jumping and blocking shots and using length. No, there is a ton of skill. They can get to the rim. They can make the next pass. I think more so. And I think that's what keeps it at such a high level when you start talking about the best leagues of the year, which would be the other ones would be the Big 12, the ACC. The SEC is as good as any of them, no doubt.
Charles Odom with the Associated Press. You mentioned that you have not yet spoken with Coach Fox, but you intend to.
I would like to, yeah, at some point, absolutely.
Obviously, I know you've got a big network of coaching friends. I wonder, did you seek out feedback from any other coach, you know, when you first started looking seriously at Georgia, maybe for a closer perspective on what they've seen here?
Yes, but nothing glaring. I would definitely run it by, I would run a couple jobs by people, but not too much, because the last thing I wanted through any of it the last couple of weeks is to be people speaking for me. And I started reading Saturday, in certain things, and all of a sudden, sources close to, well, I hadn't even said that, right? So I was careful with that. But I try to do, especially this year, I do a lot of my own research. But I had a good knowledge of this. But no, I wasn't looking for any dark clouds or anything under a rock, and I certainly didn't find anything. But, I mean, just basic couple coaches here and there, just getting their opinions on certain things. But, I mean, when I first took over at Marquette, I'll never forget, there were 3 coaches. One said we'd never have a home court advantage, that we'd never have it there. And a couple said, it's going to be tough to win in there. They only come certain times. We started out at 6,700 fans. At the end, 9 years later, we were at 16,453, and we'd had 29 sellouts. So, like, I look forward to that, right? There's no predictions on that. Like, I look and say, this arena, it can get to a place that we're going to work. Whether it does or not, we'll find out. But every day to work to make this place something that people want to be at as much as they possibly can. Not just for the bigger games, not just the weekend games, but do everything we can to make it exciting. And so, but other than that, no, there was nobody that gave me anything. John Calipari called last night, so you're coming to the league? I said, I'm coming straight to Rupp. So, he was glowing after his win. That's going to be fun. I can't wait to be in this league. I got a lot of respect for it, and I got a lot of respect for the coaches. Okay.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
A couple reminders.
Wish me luck. My first talk with Paul Feinbaum, so wish me luck. Coming up here.
If anybody needs to go downstairs and work in the press room downstairs, we need to get you